Over the last few decades, the Citroen Berlingo has rightfully earned itself a name as a reliable, super practical utilitarian van or MPV, and with this new generation it's also now available with a pure electric powertrain. In fact, initially in the UK, the Citroen Berlingo MPV was only offered as an electric vehicle, the e-Berlingo, with a 50 kilowatt-hour battery and a range of up to 177 miles in the shorter 5-seat version, or 168 miles in this long wheelbase 7-seater that we have got here. But demand was such that Citroen has now reintroduced a petrol and a diesel option. So you can now get this with the company's little 1.2 litre 3-cylinder petrol or a 1.5 diesel, and the diesel you can also get with an 8-speed automatic if you want it. Prices for the 5-seat electric e-Berlingo start at £32,315, while the petrol and diesel models both start at around about £25,500 for the entry-level field trim. The Berlingo XL 7-seater that we have here remains electric only. You can't have it with the petrol or diesel engines, and in that same base field trim that starts at £33,315. Now, I've actually lived with the Citroen e-Berlingo, the shorter 5-seat version anyway, and what I can tell you is that it's the most incredible family car. Forget your SUVs. If you want proper family practicality, vans are the way forward. The sliding doors are so useful in tight car parks. Flo, my 6-year-old, loves the fact that you can climb in and you've got this flat floor and she can just walk straight across the seats. It's absolutely brilliant. Plus you've got those 3 individual moulded seat bases, which is really good for car seats. It really is absolutely brilliant for practicality. Not to mention the fact that the boot, naturally, is absolutely vast. So in this long wheelbase version, you've obviously got the seats in the back here, but you can take them out altogether. Even actually when they're in, you can lean these forward and you've still got quite a lot of space, or you take them out altogether and you've got over 1,000 litres of space. Drop those middle seats and they've even got a nice metal backing so that you can throw things in and it's all very durable. And you've got 4,000 litres of space. It's a proper van. It's amazing. For some context, you've got 1,000 litres of space in here with 5 seats in place. A Range Rover has 725 litres. Go Citroen. The rearmost seats fold up and down really easily and are also fairly straightforward to remove altogether or replace again. That middle row of seats really does have tons of space, but it is a shame that they don't slide or recline and only fold in a 60-40 split. With everything folded, it really is, well, a van. Now, access to those rearmost seats is not brilliant, but not terrible. So you just drop these seats in the middle like that, and then you just climb over. So it is only for the dexterous, let's face it. But when you're back here, actually, loads of headroom. The floor feels quite high, but it's still pretty comfortable by the standards of these sort of occasional rear seats that you get in these. You've also got, I would add a little place down here to put your load bay cover. I don't know that you really want to keep it in there if you've got passengers, because you're going to get it very dusty and it's a bit of a trip hazard. But it's nice that it has got that place to put it. It fixes in there nicely. So that's all good. One aside I would make is that, I mean, it's very hot today, so it's quite obvious, but there are no air vents in the centre seats or at the back here in this van. So you are going to get quite hot quite quickly. But apart from that, do you know what? It's really very good. The dash is functional and straightforward, with the trademark rounded off air vents echoing the exterior air bumps, and you also get physical aircon controls below the touchscreen with dual zone climate control if you go for the higher spec Flare XTR trim. The touchscreen is not the best, I have to say. Others, like from Hyundai and Kia, have better graphics. That's the thing that really bothers me. And it's more than that, it's the menu layouts that I find really frustrating. Like trying to dim the screen at night, the setting for that is almost impossible to find. So there's definitely big improvements that can be made to this touchscreen, but it does do what you want it to do. It's got your nav with a charger search function in the electric car, plus it's also got your Apple CarPlay and your Android Auto, although you do need to have it plugged in to benefit from that. But generally it does what you need it to. Other than that, nice driving position. You get manual lumbar adjustment, which is good. I'd like a bit more lumbar adjustment personally, but you sit quite high up and really good visibility. It's a good place. If you do go for an electric Berlingo, you will get a 50 kilowatt hour battery with a usable capacity of 46.2 kilowatt hours, which will take some 7.5 hours to charge from a normal 7 kilowatt home wall box. Plug into a powerful enough DC rapid charger and the Berlingo's 100 kilowatt charging capability will give you an 80% charge in some 30 minutes. So it's an interesting story, isn't it, that the Berlingo is now available with petrol and diesel as well as this electric powertrain. I actually think the electric one is going to be by far the best to drive. It's got the most performance actually, so 0 to 62 in 7.4 seconds. It's got really good sort of mid-range punch, it's really not the most refined by electric car standards, especially, it has to be said, because you get a lot of suspension noise. Don't know if you can hear that thumping in the background, a lot of tyre roar. It's just a bit agricultural by electric car standards, really. But I don't think you're going to care, given the practicality and the value that this thing offers, whether you're looking at it actually as an electric option or as a petrol or diesel. It's just such a utilitarian thing, isn't it? And regardless of the refinement being, you know, not great really, well, actually it's still really nice to drive because you've got really lovely smooth acceleration and really nice easy throttle modulation. Brake feel could be quite a lot better, it has to be said, and I would quite like to see more variation in the brake regen, because you've only got one sort of heavier brake regen and that's it. But still, really easy to drive, really nice and smooth, just really pleasant. And let's face it, with these vans, how they drive is virtually beside the point, isn't it? It's all about that practicality. Speaking of which, I didn't mention the overhead storage earlier, did I, when I was living with this thing? I love this storage. You can shove coats and scarves and gloves and all sorts of stuff up there, and it's just really useful. Real-world range is, of course, the chief concern for many drivers contemplating an EV, and is precisely why Citroen has brought in petrol and diesel options to the Berlingo range. And it has to be said that the range is a weak point on the e-Berlingo. As we said, it'll drop to less than 100 miles in winter on the motorway, but hot weather really suits it, and we've seen a real-world range of 150 miles today from the XL, even with a lot of motorway driving and the aircon on all day. I do believe that an awful lot of people who have off-road parking particularly could live with this sort of range and probably would do very easily. I do firmly believe that there's no point in having electric cars with huge batteries that you're only using it for 1 or 2 long journeys each year. That seems a bit foolhardy if we're in this to reduce our impact on the environment and our resource use. But there you have it. Let's face it, the Citroen Berlingo is just a charming, practical, good value car. And when you get something that is this easy to live with and that just makes life so simple, it's just got so much space, it's such great value, it's such a charming thing. What is not to like? And having those extra powertrains, well, it only makes it even more appealing. Don't forget to head to cargurus.co.uk for a whole host of used cars. And while we've got you, please do like the video, subscribe to the CarGurus UK YouTube channel and turn your notifications on so that you don't miss any of our videos.